Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my fabulous co-host all the way from Tucson, Patricia Kirkman. PK, how are you tonight?
Absolutely fabulously wonderful.
Oh, my God, you're back to your old self, huh?
Yes, I am. I feel more myself than I have in the last 8 weeks.
Yay!
That's good. So
good
look
news.
out, people. Here I come.
All right. I can hear it in your voice. Well, this is wonderful. We've got a great show tonight. In just a few minutes, we're going to bring our guest on. It's James Gilliland of ECETI, Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence Ranch. He is going to tell us all how this happens, all about the flybys that are there are just so many of them, right, PK?
I can't believe
you saw the
I
video.
cannot believe what I've been seeing and watching. Woo!
My
incredible.
God, it's incredible. Yeah, so we're going to bring James on in a few minutes. But first, PK, let's check in with you about the numbers. What's happening?
Well, we are in a brand new month. It's a 7 universal month, and we want to be relaxed. We're going to feel tired. And it's a good time to scan your life and take a look at things that you may want to rearrange or change. But the most important thing to think about is this is an excellent month to be a teacher or to be the student. All these classes that you've thought about, talked about, and put aside, come on, pull them back out and let's start working on them. Because you'll be surprised. You are a walking sponge right now. And what you get involved with and what you care about is going to stick with you. You're going to be able to keep it going. Couldn't ask for a better time. But, as all good things, there are a bet to it, which says you're going to have difficulty sleeping because you're going to have a hard time shutting the mind off. It's going to be kind of bouncing back and forth. That you can handle. But the thing that I want you to remember more than anything else, and as the month progresses, know that this is a month that secrets can be made known. Okay? So don't be surprised at what pops out or comes out. Use it as a gift to hold on to. Keep a little notepad by your bed at night. You're going to get little flashes of things, and it may be a word or two here, but eventually it may become more information than you even think possible. So also, do yourself a favor if you decide you want to work around the house or whatever, because this is a slow and easy time. Stay off the ladders, okay? We don't want to pick you up and put you into the ambulance. It's too easy for tripping and falling this month, so slow and easy. Relax as best you can. Time spent by or around water will be absolutely fabulous. Other than that, you've got nothing to think about but maybe that nice hot tub and a glass of wine to kind of sneak into and relax with a few herbs in the tub. Just a thought.
Sounds good to me. Well, this will be an interesting month, and it sounds like the pressure's off just at least a little bit, which is nice.
Definitely nice. It's about time.
But I like this thought of yours with the numbers that we will have secrets coming out. I love it when secrets come out.
Oh, I do too, except if they're mine.
That's right. They've got to stay hidden. That's it.
Myself.
That's right.
A lot of information is going to be passing on right now, and it's going to be surprising. We may not really hear what we're hearing immediately, and it's all of a sudden, it's like the quietude will set in, and then you go, wait a minute, what was that I just heard, or what did I just see? And then you'll start to rework it, analyze it, and may be quite surprised at what the end result is.
Amazing. Well, sounds like a fun month. So here we go into May. Now, if anybody wants to call in and ask our guest a question, we have a new call-in system, and the number is 563-999-3539. That's 563-999-3539. And I have a little bit of paranormal news to share that's pretty cool, and it's about the black-eyed kids. Now, we had Nick Redfern on a while ago. Remember him, PK?
Yes, I do.
He does those great stories about cryptoids, but he just came out with a book on black-eyed kids, and he was at a conference, the Ozark Mountain UFO Conference, and a man approached him from Texas. Now, Nick just called him Mike because he didn't want to reveal his name, but he said that this guy Mike, he heard a knock at the door in 2014, and this was at his home then in Wimberley, Texas, and it was 11:15 at night, and then he goes to the door, he looks through the spy hole, and he sees a very skinny young boy dressed in a black T-shirt and black jeans. So Mike cautiously, which thank God he was cautious, opens the door just a few inches, and he asks this boy what he wanted. And the boy kept his head low, and he was just looking at the ground. And then Mike said the boy asked for money so he could get something to eat. But Mike said something just didn't feel right. Now, you know, PK, that's what we hear about with these black-eyed kids. People get that bad feeling. Yeah. Exactly, in the pit of their stomach. So, anyways, Mike started to feel threatened and even frightened by the situation. And then he said to this young boy, "I'm sorry, I can't help you." And then this boy raised his head and looked at Mike right in the face. And guess what? That's where Mike saw that the boy had completely black eyes. Very pale skin. He said the skin looked like it had been painted on. Now, we've heard that before, but mostly with the Men in Black. Right?
Yeah, almost a tissue effect.
Yeah, it's like they have makeup on over something. But he said not only was the kid's face looking like it was painted on, but the black hair he was wearing, he said it looked like a wig. And then his eyebrows also looked like they were painted on. So there's so many similarities, it seems, that are coming out between the black-eyed kids and the Men in Black, because we've heard this over and over about the Men in Black. But this is the first I heard about a black-eyed kid looking like that. So anyways, the boy just finally walked away backwards. And he kept his black eyes on Mike. Yeah, how about that? Until he reached the end of the driveway. And at that point, the boy turned and walked off into the street and was lost from view. But this guy, Mike, was really shaken up. He said he was in a cold sweat, and he shut and locked the door. And thank God that was the last time he ever saw this young boy. But isn't that a creepy story?
Very creepy. Now I'm going to have to make sure I can look out when the doorbell rings.
You better check. I am not answering my door unless I know who's on the other side. So
that makes two of us.
Yes. So that was a great story that was reported by our buddy Nick Redfern, again, who's been on the show a bunch of times. And so it looks like more people are getting comfortable about sharing their experiences about this. And so that's always a good thing. And the other thing, yes, I mean, it's nice when people come forward. The other thing I wanted to share with everybody is to go to our Facebook page, because our guest tonight, James Gilliland, they sent us a bunch of photos, and I was scrolling through the photos, and one caught my eye, which is a photo of an ET or interdimensional. I don't know which. And this photo looks so much like a photo that we took when we were doing American Skull with George Lugo. This alien face showed up. Now, to me, it looks very much like this alien or interdimensional that was photographed by a guest of James Gilliland. So we're going to talk to him more about that and all these other exciting things. But be sure you go to the Facebook page. Give us a like, follow us, so you can be able to find all these great things that we're going to be posting, that we have posted. We have wonderful stories up there about all kinds of supernatural events. So don't miss out. Go to that page. Follow us on Twitter. And if you want a numerological reading, patriciakirkman.com is the place to go. Again, that's patriciakirkman.com. You can find both of us on the website, Supernatural Girls with a Z. So let's introduce our guests. What do you say, PK? You ready?
That's a fabulous idea. Let's go for it.
Now, and I just wanted to tell everybody, last week's show with psychiatrist Dr. Richard Gallagher was a great show. If you didn't hear it, you got to go back and listen to it in the archives. But I just wanted to tell everybody, look, PK and I, we can't see each other anymore. So until we find a new video streaming. So sometimes we talk over each other because we can't anticipate who's going to speak next. So bear with us until we get our video stream straightened out and we can see each other again. That makes it so much easier. But we're not trying to talk over each other on purpose. So just so you know, we generally are very polite, right, with each other, PK?
I'm going to think about that one. I'm not letting you off the hook.
I knew it. Oh, goodness. Well, here's a great quote from our guest, James Gilliland, again of ECETI, Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence Ranch. He says, "We are on the edge of taking a quantum leap in consciousness, and the physics is there to back it up. The science is there to back it up. If we change consciousness, we can change the physical world in which we live." Now, James is a best-selling author. He's internationally known lecturer, minister, counselor. He's also a multiple near-death experiencer and a contactee. He is a facilitator of many Eastern disciplines and a visionary dedicated to the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth. So we are honored to have James with us tonight. So, James, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it's our pleasure. You're a very interesting individual, but we got to find out, James, how did you get started on this path in your life?
Well, I think since childhood I've had strange experiences, and my grandparents were involved in the Roswell incident, and so my grandmother was the school teacher there, and so everybody went to her for advice, and they owned the hardware store that sold a lot of the farm equipment to the Swensons, I believe it was the Swenson Ranch. So she had the first responders, the sheriffs, come to her and try to figure out what happened, and they told her, Edna was her name, and they said, Edna, we're not alone. And she said, well, of course we're not. It's a massive universe out there, and so anyway, she said that they were as white as a sheet, and they couldn't even hold a coffee cup. They were shaken up, pretty bad by the experience. And so we've always had a history. My dad had a ship actually land on the highway, and he was the second vehicle up on it and was stopped. And they had some missing time, too, as well. So he used to pull over on the highway and say, get out, and we'd get out of the car, and he'd point up, and we'd see like 5 ships flying right over our heads. So I've always, ever since I was a kid, I just accepted it. And we were raised in the high desert, and there's, at night we'd put our sleeping bags out on the lawn because it was too hot to sleep inside, and we'd see ships just one after another, flying overhead. So, to me, I was raised with it. I never even second guessed it.
So for you, it was normal that. Yes, and to see these ships at night, this was just matter of course. Now, it sounds like you said your father had missing time, so he was abducted.
Yeah, something happened. They don't know what. All he knows is, he knows there was some missing time, but they don't remember anything that happened.
Did you have missing time yourself through any of these things you've seen?
I don't do time very well at all anymore. I just
you would notice.
Yeah, it's hard for me to keep time.
So when was the first time that you remember having an experience of meeting an ET?
I think when I was 5 years old, I had bronchial pneumonia and was actually in the hospital, and they told my parents I probably wasn't going to live through the night several times, and I had a woman appear to me. I didn't know who she was, and she was in blue, and she would stroke my head and talk to me, and I'd get through the night, and then that happened 3 or 4 nights in a row, and then finally she actually gave me this substance and had me eat it, and it was white, and it looked like ice cream, but it wasn't cold, and ever since then I was never sick. I never missed a day of school or anything, but it was kind of interesting. I didn't know who she was, and later I found out it was actually Mary. It was Mother Mary, and before I go any further, I want to do a disclaimer. I'm not really Catholic. I don't separate into religions or anything. She's a universal being, and she works with, anybody, and she works a lot with the children, making sure that they're safe and they're okay and things like that. She does a lot of healing work with the children, but that was my first kind of major paranormal experience. And then after that, we had a lot of experiences, beings appearing to both me and my brother. And most of them were benevolent, but we had a couple come that weren't so friendly and kind of freaked me out, and I didn't know what to do with it as a kid. And I remember putting these big, long screws through the back door of our bedroom so things couldn't come in, but, I think screws are highly overrated as far as protection with, other dimensional beings. But as a kid, I didn't know any better. But, it's kind of a long history of things.
Well, when you talk about your brother and you being kind of accosted by some aliens or interdimensionals that were not friendly, tell us more about that. Can you describe them? Can you tell us how you knew they weren't friendly?
Well, they were grays, and I don't know what they're doing. Most of our contacts were benevolent, and they're more of the Nordic types, but they actually came in and dealt with it. The higher beings came in and cleared them out.
I wonder, did you or your brother have more of a communication with them? Was there a favoritism between one versus the other by the beings that were?
I couldn't say because I don't know about his experiences. All of them. I know he had similar experiences, but it's hard to say.
Oh, did one seem to be more protected than another from the things that were going on around you?
I think both of us were very well protected. Yeah, I couldn't really say, because at the time I was only like 5 or 6 years old, so
right.
It's hard to figure that one out when you're that young.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about your health and the substance that you were fed that you were well thereafter. What about your brother? Did he have illnesses take place of a strong or quality nature, or were they just hit and misses?
No, he was in pretty good health. I think upon coming here, there's a part of me that didn't want to be here. I knew from where I came and was having a hard time adjusting to the earth frequencies, and so I was having a hard time adjusting. Like a lot of people come in, and a lot of kids, and a lot of them just check out and leave because they can't adjust to the earth energies and the environment that they're in. But it happens a lot.
Never thought about that aspect of it.
Yeah, and you were very lucky to get. You got this amazing medicine.
Well, there was a bigger plan going on. I know. I remember going out of body and going up with a man. He wore robes, very tall, and he would take me and up before a council, and I would stand before this council. And in a way, he was like presenting me for something. And I still don't even know what it is, but I know there was a bigger plan. There was some kind of a bigger plan going on, and I was part of it. But I'm starting to understand it now. But at the time, I didn't really know what it was. But I'm sure a lot of people have that same vision or have those memories of going out of body and standing before councils and things like that, and agreeing to do things, certain things here on Earth.
Well, you're helping to make all of this very normal for people. So these flyovers, these contacts, it's just a part of everyday life because that's how you grew up. And we think that's wonderful. That's the whole premise of our show, that all of these things should be included in our paradigm. So you're actually living it, and you're inviting other people to the ranch to be with you and witness these things. So that's great.
Yeah, we do. I always say, paranormal's normal, for us here, and we help a lot of people. Even scientists come up here. We were talking before about that on our ECETI Stargate channel on YouTube. We just had a group of scientists come out, and we saw, minimum. I saw 35 ships, and then I went in, but they said there was another 15 that happened afterwards. But these were coming over, powering up. They were throwing out tremendous colors and just all kinds of things going on, and displays overhead. And they're like little kids. They're all excited. It made their whole day, and they had some pretty profound spiritual things happen to them while they're here as well. So we just put that up on the website. So if people come here, the key is you have to have pure intent and an open mind and a loving heart. If you come here with a bad attitude or as a skeptic, that's you're going to see a few things you can't understand, but you're going to kind of create that reality while you're here, and probably mess it up for others as well. But we tell people just come and with an open mind, and you keep discernment and observe what goes on, and we kind of go from there.
Well, what you're doing is absolutely wonderful, and it's important to, again, tell people your website address so that they can go there, people in our audience, because you do offer opportunities to actually come to the ranch. So what website address are you using right now? Is it ECETI.org?
Well, ECETIevents.com will take you to the new site where ECETI.org is the old site, and you can go there. And then from there, go over to ECETI Events. But our whole website is under construction. Finally, I've been wanting to do this for about 5 years, and finally it's getting redone, and it's up and running. But ECETIevents.com is the best way, or just ECETI.org. Either one will take you to the same place. But there's a lot on there, a lot of events coming up. We have John Vivanco doing remote viewing here, I think on the 17th, I'm pretty sure. But we have self-mastery courses, ambassador training classes, and a huge conference. We have the July 4th conference where we've got some great speakers up here. But what's really nice about this place is not only can you come and hear some awesome speakers, you can walk out in the field of dreams at night and photograph orbs and light beings and ships and everything else. So it's a life-changing experience when people come here.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we want to know more from you, James, about the alien agenda. What can you tell us? I mean, why are they here? What are they doing here? They've chosen you, obviously, for a good reason. But tell us everything that you possibly can about their agenda.
Well, they're all different, and they have different agendas. And we've had a lot of them here that weren't really in our highest and best good, and they've been here for quite some time. And we've always had there's been meetings, with the government, and they'll tell them, like the good ones will say, hey, okay, we're going to give you all the technology, incredible healing technology, anti-gravity, counter-gravity, free energy, everything, but the kicker is you have to choose peace, and you have to dismantle your nuclear, weapons and things like that. And and create, a council, like a World Council on Peace. And then another group came and said, hey, we'll give you all the same stuff, but what you're going to have to do is allow us to abduct a whole bunch of your people and do experiments and, and other things.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to disarm. I mean, you don't have to, take the path of peace. And so, unfortunately, in the time when those offers were made, we were in, we had Cold Wars going and just ended a war and things like that. So they went with the other option. They went with they kind of went with the wrong group, unfortunately. And that's some of the grays, the tall grays, the reptilians. There's even serpent beings attached to that, and some other things. And then you have the more benevolent ones that are more. A lot of them are more like us. And the Nordics. You've got the Pleiadians, the Orion Counts of Light, who went through the reptilian wars, and you've got the Syrian beings, which are the protectors. They were the protectors of the Anunnaki, and they're returning with the benevolent Anunnaki. The fallen Anunnaki are being taken care of by that group, and then you've got I think I said we got Pleiadians, Orion Counts of Light, Andromedans, Syrians, Arcturians. There's quite a few groups. There's some I'm just now finding out about other groups, and I always tell people, I only talk about what I've experienced. There's people that have had, connections with other groups, and they said, why don't you talk about it? And I said, because I haven't experienced it, and I can't. All I can do is just say, that's your experience, and I'm not here to say it's real or say it's false. It's your experience, but I can only really talk about my own experience.
So it sounds like you feel closest to the tall whites. Is that the group because that's the group you did grow up with? Are they near and dear to your heart above the others?
Yeah, well, the Pleiadians, the tall whites are kind of a different group too. I think they're some kind of a hybrid. I'm not sure, but they're a little different than the Pleiadians. They're kind of they're more into technology. They're not as into the Pleiadians. You just get a bliss hit when you connect with them. Most of them are just so loving and so highly evolved that a lot of people actually think they're talking to angels when they're talking to Pleiadians. They can't tell, they don't know the difference, and they just kind of pigeonhole it into their understanding or their belief system, and we see that happen a lot. Some people might be talking to, an Andromedan, with their mythologically known as archangels. They're 8 to 10 foot tall beings, and they have magnetized light bodies. One of them. And then there's some blue ones too that have blue skin, but they, people will put this in a category that aligns with their belief system. But there's always more to the story.
That's for sure. And it sounds like you have the more to the story. That's why we're so glad you're here with us tonight. But we're going to take a very short commercial break. Everybody stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the Source. With Cosmic Fusion, the Source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Extraterrestrial is a family of cosmetic products with 98% pure ionized minerals. We combine our science with a blend of essential oils to nourish and take care of your skin's health. How does it work? All Extraterrestrial products contain the proprietary redox technology, having the capability of simulating an ionic zinc-copper superoxide dismutase effect. This free radical scavenger currently in your body has been diminished by toxins and the daily stresses of life. It is a perfectly balanced mineral complex that all $200 an hour dermatologists, their professors, and ancient history have proven. Redox technology is a process of reducing the skin's oxidation by transferring electrons from a radical state to a stress-free normal condition. Oxidative stress is a form of cellular aging, and as science has proven, a precursor to disease. The free radical theory of aging states that organisms age because cells accumulate free radical damage over time. Damaged cells are not beautiful, but healthy cells are. The Extraterrestrial family is presented in 4 different uses that cover unique benefits to your body. They are the Essential Anti-Aging Series, the Multivitamin Series, Sports Series, and Professional Series. Regain your youth with the power of Extraterrestrial. Visit www.extraterrestrial.com and inquire. Use the code SUPERNATURAL and receive a 10% discount on your first purchase. Extraterrestrial, the beauty of being healthy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our terrific guest tonight, James Gilliland. He is from ECETI, Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence Ranch, and we are just rolling up our sleeves here and getting into the meat of this story and all of the agendas, there's more than one, that these ETs and or interdimensionals have. So, James, let's pick up that conversation that we started right before the break. Are there any particulars that you can give us? I mean, we do know now that our governments have chosen a path that does not lead to peace and did lead to a bunch of people getting abducted and experimented on. That's not good news, but that is something that we've come to believe did happen and is happening. So what else can you tell us about what's going to happen, and is there going to be disclosure? We have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah. Well, I'll finish off where I was going before. When you get into the benevolent side of ET, they operate under universal law. And, some people call it the law of one. Everybody has different names for it, but it's quite simple. Basically, it's universal peace, brother, sisterly love, and individual freedom and prosperity for everyone. It's called unity consciousness, and that's how they operate. And that's what they're bringing to the table, and they're inspiring us to go in that direction. And they're working with a lot of leaders, like top people on the planet, to bring that consciousness and that reality about on the planet. So when you get into the benevolent ones, that's what they're about. There's some that operate under universal law, and they're planetary liberators, and they're here to take care of the beings that are operating outside of universal law. So the ones that are controlling and manipulating and interfering with our own evolutionary process here, they're dealing with those and taking those out. And it's tricky because they want us to stay within personal responsibility, and if they do everything for us, then we become dependent, and then we start worshiping them, and we're right back where we started again. They don't want that. They want us to stand in our own divinity, make our own personal contact with Creator or creation, whatever name you want to give it, and work from that level. And that's their agenda. So you have two agendas, and then there's kind of a gray area in there where there's some that are just observers. They're just observing, and they're doing some experimentation and things like that. They're not real. I'm not saying they're bad, and I'm not saying they're good either. They have their own agenda going. But especially with the ones that are doing the abduction and the experimentation on a lot of people that are tied into some aspects of the government, I don't agree with that at all. Some people will say, well, you chose that. Well, you had an agreement and things like that. But to me, that goes against universal law and your divine right to free will and self-determination. So, that needs to be honored on every level, even the physical level. So I don't agree with that, as some people would say. But, we're not victims. We can, stand tall in this situation and learn how to heal unseen negative influences and maintain our own self-authority through these experiences. But there's some training involved.
Well, one of the things that we found, because we've had a lot of dream experts on the show, and we do our own dream work also, PK and I, but what we found is that aliens, or again, I don't know who they are, ETs or interdimensionals, whatever, they can walk into your dreams, and a lot of people are not on top of this. A lot of people they go to sleep, they don't pay attention to their dreams, but what we found are these aliens and ETs and whatever they are walking into people's dreams and saying to them, can we take you? And if you're not conscious enough to know what you're doing, you might say yes in your dream, and that basically gives them permission. So it's kind of a sneaky way around consciousness to get the permission of people, and it still falls under freedom of choice, but it's happening at night when people are asleep. So that's just part of what we found. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that is happening. And so, again, the more you learn self-mastery and you learn how to heal unseen negative influences and actually control your other dimensional selves and become aware of them, and the more the veils between worlds are thinner, you bring more awareness into these situations, and you can, control the outcome in the dreams and create a different reality and things of that nature. So that does happen. There are different beings. The ETs can do it. There's beings in the astral level that can do it. In the fourth dimension, on the lower fourth dimension, or what people call the astral level, there's beings that are, what some people would call actually kind of demonic, or some very disfigured people and messed up people hanging out on those levels, and along with some negative ETs and things like that. So when you're out of body at night and you're sleeping, a lot of times you're in the fourth dimension. And so you better learn how to, keep your energies clear and things that protect yourself and things like that. And I think it's really important before you go to bed is to set your intention. Some people call them watch angels. There's different things you can call on your main teacher and guide, or you can call on one of the masters. But, do a little prayer, do a little clearing, and ask them to watch over you at night and teach you and heal you and do whatever is in your highest and best good. And the more we participate with things on that level, we start changing the outcome of these other things.
That's great advice. I think everybody should pay attention to that. I know a lot of people in our audience would really like to be able to have the experience of seeing flyovers, or also being able to communicate and receive communications from ETs. So what would you tell them? How should they go about doing something like that?
Well, what I find is that the most important thing is we need to rise to the occasion, because these are very spiritually and technologically advanced beings. So we have to, kind of meet them halfway at least. And so the more we meditate, the more we focus on love and joy and bliss, the more we raise our frequencies, contact comes with that. That's kind of it just comes with the process. And so eventually when your vibration reaches a certain level, they find you. They're going to connect with you because now, you're of use to them. They can communicate with you. You can help with healing the planet and doing other work as well. So, and that's why there's a lot of people they just pass over. People will never see them because, like in Star Trek, they are searching for intelligent life, So if we don't raise our frequencies,
That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people come up here and go, I've never seen nothing, And I said, would you ever go out at night and do you ever look up? And they go, no, I don't believe any of this stuff, And I said, well, they are looking for intelligent life, That's all I can say. So.
And I bet they don't get it.
No, they usually don't. Usually don't. But yeah, I've had some extreme. You get the shills and all the other people attacking your character and everything else, and making all kinds of ridiculous statements. And all I say is, thank you for establishing your character and your ignorance. Have a nice day. I mean, that's all I can say. Is that it's not my job to ram this down somebody's throat or try to force anything on anybody. We just provide information and evidence, and then people can choose themselves.
James, what about government harassment? Have you experienced any of that?
Geez. I mean, that could be a book in itself. As far as
Wow.
I mean, everything from brake lines cut to lug nuts being taken off the car to constant surveillance, black helicopters. Our phone lines are always tapped. I know that. And me and Trump have something in common there. But we had a general. Yeah, we had somebody come here. It was pretty funny. We had a general. Called up this friend of mine that was here, and he's part of the global exchange, and he's kind of a signatory for a lot of the Chinese gold, things like that. And he was here, and this general called him up, and he says, "Where are you right now?" And he told him, he says, "Yeah, that's what it's showing." He said, "That's the most observed place on the planet. The most monitored place on the planet." And I started laughing. I said, "Oh yeah, it figures."
Jeez,
but yeah, we've had a lot of that.
And how do you deal with that? I mean, does that wear on you at all that you're so watched? And I would imagine. And again, you talk about brake lines being cut. I mean, that's life-threatening.
Yeah, well, I'm still here, so somebody's looking after me. That's the way I look at it. But I haven't died already. I've had near-death experiences and everything else, and so that stuff doesn't really threaten me at all. I just go, that was interesting. I just pay more attention, to what's going on. But, I've had bullets whiz right by me too and things like that. But I always move right at the last minute or something. There's something that's always kind of intervening so far. But, you have to do what you came to do. You can't stop. If your sole purpose is to do this, you have to do it. You can't shrink in fear or hide or it just gets worse too if you don't go public and don't get this stuff out. The more public you go, the better it is for you, actually.
Safer is the word, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, that is kind of scary, but I'm glad, and we're both glad, that you are the kind of person that isn't intimidated easily. But who was shooting at you? Tell us the story about the bullets whizzing past. What was that about?
I don't know who it was. It could have been anything. It could have been, like a religious zealot, or it could have been some agency. I'm not sure who it was, but it was funny because I was filming with my camera, and all of a sudden I just jerked back, my head jerked back, and I go, "What was that?" And then I heard it go by me, and the camera actually picked it up. It picked up the noise, and a little flash went through the screen. You could see this little flash. It was kind of interesting, but I just, when that happened, I go, well, I think it's time to go indoors. And I just
it definitely wasn't
indoors. Yeah, no, it wasn't. I could hear it hit the wall behind me, hit the house behind me.
Unreal. So now, what about the Men in Black? Have you been accosted by them?
No, they've never come to me, but they've come to people I know. And they came to my nephew, and he was doing my website at the time. And they came to him and they said, we want to ask you some questions, about your uncle and this and this and this. And he's very tapped in. I spend a lot of time with my nephews, and they're very plugged in, very connected. And these guys were sitting in his living room, and he just told me, he said, look, he goes, I don't know what your problem is. Everybody knows UFOs exist, all the polls are showing that the whole planet is aware of it. What are you trying to do here? What are you trying to and they said, we just need to ask you some questions. And so they kind of tried to intimidate him and interrogate him. It was really weird. And what happened was, these guys were very tall, and, they wore the suits and everything. But the weird thing about it was, and I heard you talk about this, is that they didn't have any facial hair, and their skin was very white, and they had, it was very hot, and he was calling them like Archangel Michael and the higher beings and everything while he was talking to them. And at one point he thought, I wonder if I should get my gun. And one of them looked around him and said, that wouldn't be a good idea. He just thought it. And so they're extremely telepathic. But they were just sitting there cooking for some reason energetically, and they're sweating really bad. And one of them rubbed his head, and his eyebrow came off. And
wow.
It was sideways. It was like glued on or something like that. And the sweat, I guess, took it off. And they didn't have color, to their lips and things like that, and they didn't have any hair. They had no facial hair whatsoever. It was really interesting. I think they're cloned, actually. I think there's some kind of
okay. So they
looked identical.
Oh boy,
that would make sense that they'd be cloned because with no color, no actual features, without.
No, and there's no emotion.
Yeah.
No emotions there either. They had no. And
I used to date somebody like that.
Now, they didn't threaten or anything. They didn't threaten, and they had some badge with them that had an eagle on it.
An eagle?
They showed a badge, and I asked them could you recognize if you saw it again. He said, yeah, and I'm not sure who they work for, but they did show some kind of a badge, and as if they were with some law enforcement or some agency.
That's a pretty strange law enforcement agency that has clones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gosh.
Facial hair.
Now,
but
yeah, really. James, you also talk about, I've seen this before, I think on your website, that when you see the red orb ships coming, you try to stay away from them. Why is that?
Well, there's some ships that are kind of red and green, and some of those are reptilian ships, and so there are some ships you want to keep your distance from. Now, some ships, when they come in, they have an orange glow on them because that's the frequency they need to stay within the Earth's atmosphere and stay afloat. But when they power up and they take off, it'll change, into a white or a blue. And they're not so bad, but there are some that have red and green energy that we had a big one come in here overhead, and quite a few people out here in the field, and they're all getting excited when they saw it come in, and I had a bad feeling about it. And I said, I don't know about this one here. I don't know if it's our government or some back engineered thing or what it is. And then all of a sudden there's a big blue flash, and there's just powder in the air. There's nothing else. It was just powder. And what I found out it was a reptilian ship, actually, and it wasn't coming to It wasn't coming to say hi. It had a different intention, and they dealt with it with the same intention.
Do you know what the powder was?
Yeah, it was. Well, they hit it with a beam, the molecular bond of everything, and so it goes back into just basically a powder or crystalline form.
Interesting.
So it's like the Star Trek ship hitting something with a beam. That's amazing. So it kept all of you safe, and you said it was a huge ship. Now, what about some of the extraterrestrials that you have an affinity for? I mean, do you see them like we see each other? Can you communicate like we communicate with them?
Well, it depends on what dimension they're coming from. And so they can drop into this dimension, walk right alongside of us, and they have their ships. And their ships can be physical. And the ones I've experienced on that level were just extremely loving and they're very concerned about Earth and where we're going and humanity. And I have a strong affinity for them. They have a strong affinity for us as well.
Do you know anything about their age? How far back do they go? Since they've been paying attention to us, or we're paying attention to them?
Well, there was one being that appeared to me. Her name was Plumaria, like the flower Plumeria, but she spelled it with an A, Plumaria. And I said, well, your name is so close to a flower, a tree that has a flower on it here on Earth, and they're all over Hawaii. And she said that her grandfather brought those trees here.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, and so the Earth's been terraformed. There's 12 major races, star nations, that were involved in the terraforming, and then some came later. But the Pleiadians were very involved in the Atlantean and Lemurian. They were the root race that started those two colonies. And there was another group that came here, which they referred to even before them as the Anunnaki, but those were the ancient Lyrians. Those are the really ancient ancestors. They're very tall, and they have kind of cone heads. They look very different. And that was another group, and that was they're kind of picking up a lot of the antediluvian groups right now. They're digging them up underneath the Arctic, the Antarctic, and things like that. They're because of the pole shifts. When they were here, where they are right now is buried under tons of ice. Sometimes miles of ice. But before it was tropical.
James, what's going on in Antarctica? Because we have heard from a number of people that there are dignitaries that have gone there. There's military from all over the world there. What's happening? I mean, some people are saying it's fallen angels that are encased in some type of ice and animation, and they're imprisoned there. But what are you being told about it?
Well, from my understanding, it's a very ancient race that was there, and they were doing a lot of experimentation. And so they're finding a lot of different beings that were there during that time. And I don't think there's anything to worry about as far as the past, what's there. I know when people go there, they're unconscious, they'll freak out and they'll call it demons and devils, and anybody that the consciousness that they go with is what they come back with, you might say. But it's a very, very ancient civilization that was there. They look different. They found a lot of bodies that are much different than us. There's a lot of stuff. It's just the civilization was here before the pole shift and before the caps change and things like that.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating, and I know it's been a big interest to our audience, this Antarctica mystery. So this is very interesting what you're adding to all of this.
Yeah.
And
the technology is still there too.
Yeah, that's the other thing. This is a lot of advanced technology. Is that why the military's there, to try and grab it? Probably.
Exactly. There's always been a war over who has the most advanced technologies and who can make the best weapons, and we got to get out of that consciousness. And one thing about the nuclear race, it's like now we have, the mutual destruction program where now we're finding out that the nukes are useless because if one person launches, they're going to get obliterated too as well. So now we're finding out that these weapons are actually useless because they've gotten so powerful we can't even use them, but there are groups that are still trying to trigger a nuclear war. There's facets within the deep state that would love to start World War III, and they want to see 90% of us gone, off the planet. That's still going on. The good news is the benevolent ones, they won't allow it. They're monitoring
Thank
all
goodness.
of this.
Yeah. What can we do to help them?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? There are groups right now. Now, this is a really interesting story. I was getting this information, and I didn't know what they were talking about. And I was talking about the future, and I said, what is going to go down here? How is this going to play out? And they told me that there's some very, very dark characters beyond most people's imagination that are running the show. And most people couldn't handle the truth. You couldn't tell them how dark it is and what goes on there because they couldn't handle it, And they said that group is coming up, and they're going to try to do their thing. But there's another group that's stepping forward, and a lot of people call them the white hats, and the people that have moral fiber and things like that, and they're stepping up and saying, no, we're not going in that direction. And they're actually being overseen by higher, other ultra-dimensional beings and ascended masters and Pleiadians and the Orion Council of Light and things like that are behind the white hats and taking down, the satanic and pedophile network and all these other things. And so there's a lot going on. There's a huge shift, and the Earth is ascending, and there's waves of energy coming in. We just had, about a week and a half ago, we had a huge wave of energy came through, and everybody just went bonkers. Everybody's stuff came up. They were having emotional outbursts. And it was pretty intense, and that's part of this process. But it keeps coming in, and it gets exponentially stronger. And it's healing energy, but the problem with this kind of energy is that it amplifies everything. So it's bringing everything up, and it's a natural cycle. It's a cosmic cycle, but it's bringing everything up. All the hidden stuff, all the unfinished business, everything is coming up. And it's coming up in waves, and it's getting stronger and stronger, and that's where we're in that process right now.
That's quite a process. It's very powerful. So when people, it sounds like you need a full team of therapists and spiritual leaders when people come to your ranch because the energy is so intense there.
We have a 3-day policy when people come. We say, they come here and they go, God, I love this place. I'm home. I just feel the love and the joy and the bliss and the land. And I said, well, give it 3 days. And they go, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, with that energy comes a quickening, and it's going to bring up everything that doesn't resonate with it. And so, in about 3 days, you're going to be in your stuff. It's going to come up, but this is a golden opportunity to heal it. If you want to take responsibility, you can heal this and get through it. And, and a lot of people do take that path and come and heal. And there's some that go into projection and blame and point fingers at everybody else.
Yeah, sounds like you go for 2 days. It sounds like if you go for 2 days, you get rid of that 3rd day problem.
Yeah, exactly. Have it happen somewhere else. But, that's basically what we're here for, to help people process anyway and, get through their stuff because it's not who they are. It's just old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experiences, childhood trauma, things. It's not really who they are. It's just something that they mistakenly identified with.
Now, have you been on board any of the ships?
Yeah, quite a few.
You have. What's it like? Do tell. We want details.
They're all different. The one I was on board that was physical, there wasn't much to it. It was very simple. There was 3 seats in it, and it had screens all the way around, and you could see, 180 degrees around the ship, or you could see other places if they're monitoring something else in another country or whatever. You could see anything from these ships. They're pretty interesting, and to me, there's some kind of a network, a communication network that they have here that they all utilize. But that one was kind of interesting. And then the big ships, the motherships, are really interesting. They have everything from humanoid feline beings to short little guys to blue-skinned guys to very tall humans. They have kind of a, they're Federation ships. They're part of the Galactic Federation, so they have beings from all over the place.
So it's kind of like being at the Star Wars Cafe.
Yeah, I tell people, if you really want to become enlightened, and if you want a religion that the closest religion to the truth is Star Wars,
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is true, but most of it's benevolent. But there are some characters out there that are not in their highest and best good, and they're held in check in most cases.
How many, shall we say, ships gather at the same time? Are they all individuals, or do they go in a combination of groups, or what?
Well, we see a lot of ships here, and I can tell just by their frequency and their colors and how they operate, kind of who they are. I tell you what's really interesting. Now, this ties it all together. I was on Coast to Coast a while back, and they had John Oates and another guy there, and they did reverse speech on the interview. And so the interview was, Art was asking me, the first question, he says, what are all those little blue lights around the Mary statue? Because there's this huge pink beam of energy coming down on the statue, and we got a picture of it, but there's all these little blue lights along the bottom. And, I told him, I said, I think those are nature spirits that are attracted to the light, to the energy hanging out. And so when they did reverse speech, I said, Mary's elves say to love her. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm going, wait a second. So you're saying the Ascended Master Realm and the Elven Kingdom and the Nature Kingdom are working together, And they said yes, And so that was interesting. And then so the other one was a huge golden ship came over, and we filmed that. And Art saw that, and he said, well, who's on those giant golden ships? And I said, I don't know who's on them, but they're very ancient, and they're very powerful, and they feel like God beings. They're very ancient. And when they did reverse speech on me, I said, Sailor Vishnu is his name. And so, Vishnu is the god of preservation, the Hindu god of preservation. So, if you go through any of the old sacred books and the scriptures, they all talk about these ships. And some ships are physical, some are pure energy, some are magnetized light ships, and the beings are the same. Some beings are physical, some are energy beings, and some have magnetized light bodies, and some are just pure consciousness. So, there's a whole vibrational continuum going on, and unfortunately we try to pigeonhole it and box it into the structures that we know, or whatever religious beliefs or scientific beliefs or whatever, whatever ism we've chosen, we try to box it into there, but, it just doesn't fit into those boxes.
No, it doesn't. It's way beyond that, just super far beyond that. So having an open mind takes on new meaning when it comes to people coming to your ranch and experiencing all of these kinds of things. Now, you did talk about also being on ships that were more energy-based, so not so much physical. Now, what was that like compared to being on a physical ship?
Well, they have a technology that they can pull you right out of your body and bring you up on the ship. And what happens is that there's a vibrational continuum, and it has all these planes and dimensions to it. And we have that within ourselves. And if people just believe they're a body and a personality, that's what they are. That's what they've chosen. But in truth, we're a spirit that has a body, and a personality, and that spirit has many dimensions to it. So they can actually, like a six-dimensional being, can come in and pull out your six-dimensional body and up on the ship and have a conversation with you and put you back. How much you remember that experience is directly related to your spiritual adeptness, you might say. So if you've been meditating a lot and you're having access to these other dimensions, then you're going to remember a lot of that experience. If you haven't, it'll just be like a very vague dream.
Oh, that makes sense. So again, it pays to really invest in your own inner awareness. Now, let me ask you a question. PK and I have been following the 411 Missing 411 series with David Paulides. We hope to get him on the show one of these days. And he talks, I'm sure you're familiar with it, he talks about people that are disappearing in our national parks and some of them in urban areas. Mm-hmm. And in most cases, if they do find a body, they have a hell of a time trying to find a cause of death. So I was wondering, have you talked to your contacts, your extraterrestrial or interdimensional friends about this? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, somebody just asked me about that, and just recently too, and I was going to look into it. I haven't yet. My gut feeling is that I think there's either some kind of psyops going on there, probably joint human ET stuff happening there, where they're snagging people, or there's so many possibilities there. We do have, that's one of the things I'm going to ask. A good one to ask on that, I mean, we'll find out too, is John Vivanco. He's an incredible remote viewer, and that's a good question. I think I'm going to ask him that and see what he comes up with, and also what I come up with.
That would be great to know, because it's a pretty serious issue. And, you read about these people that go missing, and there's a certain MO that follows it, with bad weather that makes it very difficult to track these people and other types of things. But the thing that intrigued us the most is that if they did find a body, they couldn't determine a cause of death. So that speaks to a whole different level of involvement by entities, whether they're stealing souls and creating Cybermen or whatever they're doing, or something else. But not to be able to determine a cause of death is quite troubling.
Yeah, exactly. We're basically electrical beings, and you can short out. We can get shorted out pretty easy by, different experiences. And, there's a little chamber in your heart that has so much electrical potential there, and that surgeons know you do not touch that with a metal instrument. You'll short out a human real quick. But so there's different. Could be a lot of things. It could have been, we just don't have the ability to withstand the forces that people are coming in contact with, or, it could be a lot of different things. I mean, all I can do is speculate right now, but I can look into it. It might be more than one thing going on. There might be multiple things happening, because
I think you're right.
There are there's places in the forest, and there's places like what's that ranch? The crazy stuff happens at the ranch. I'm trying to
Skinwalker.
What's that? Yeah,
Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people wanted me to go there and check it out and hang out, and I said, "Are you serious?" I said, I know a lot of what goes on there, and I already have enough trouble in my life. I don't go looking for it, and there's everything going on there. Just like there's a lot of things going on here, and it's benevolent. There's a lot of things going on there, and some of it's not benevolent. And so, I kind of choose my battles. I don't go looking for the darkness, because, I have to deal with enough of that anyway, doing counseling work and things of that nature.
You don't want to bring it home with you, that's for sure.
No, exactly. And I respect the darkness.
Yeah, we all need to. Let's go back to the medicine you were given by Mary. Do they have any interest, these beings, in helping us with a new path of healing? Because certainly our medicine today If you take your drugs, you have to take drugs. Yeah, it's one symptom leads to another symptom. It's chasing symptoms. It's not healing. I mean, clearly you were healed by a great, great healer, Mary. But what about, again, helping us out a little bit here? I mean, I feel sometimes like they're a little stingy.
Yeah.
They're not helping us as much as we could.
Yeah.
We could have
the problem
help
is,
here.
The problem is that there's karma with, like, let's say if I came down and I gave somebody this miracle cure, and that guy went out and tried to make it available to everybody and got killed, then I'd go, okay, that didn't work. And that's happened on a regular basis. And so the people that have the free energy, that have do the miracle cures and things like that, most of them have been killed or shut up or given the briefcase of money and said, here, have a nice life on the island. And, alternative 2 is you and your family die, So, I'm just being realistic here. And that goes on a regular basis. And now that that's coming to a close, all of these things can start coming out. But a lot of the things, I know of where these technologies are, and I know where magnetic light cables are and things like that create communication from your etheric self, which is your whole and healthy, perfect incarnation, the perfect pattern that can bring that pattern straight into the physical and reprogram everything and, change your DNA and everything else. But those technologies are here. They're on the planet right now, and incredible diagnostic devices that not only diagnose but put the energy back that needs, brings balance back to the body. Things like that. And then there's a lot of other ones that are also almost miraculous, but base theory. A lot of Russian technology out there and devices that do that, Rife machines, things like that. All that stuff. There's just going to be a big explosion here real soon of those technologies coming out. I know of some technologies I can't even talk about right now because it's not safe, but I was involved in getting that out and back in the 90s. And the scientists I was working with had his lab blown up. They stole his car. They threatened his family. It was a real mess, and we had to just drop it.
How
and
sad.
What was this? Was
My
it
God.
medical?
What's that?
Was this in the medical field, or was this the energy? Was this a medical thing that he had invented, or was this an energy issue that he had dealt with?
Well, he has both.
Which category?
He has both categories, basically. But this was the free energy that we were working with. This was 0 point energy, and it was unlimited.
So you can imagine how many people were threatened by that one.
Yeah, this was back in the 90s, early 90s. And what I found out is that everybody wanted to steal it and everybody wanted to control it, or they wanted to suppress it, one or the other. And it was sad because I'm going, where are the conscious people that have the funds to make this happen? We keep running into the other guys and all the hidden agendas and everything else. And I just don't think we were ready for it back then to come out. There's just too much resistance, and the people weren't conscious enough to bring it out.
No, that's kind of sad.
Are we ready for it yet?
I think we are. I tell you my thing. Now, this is going to go off topic a little bit, but I want to go back into this. But I was receiving all this information, and they kept telling me they kept saying Q, like over and over again, Q. And I go, what are you talking about? Are you talking about Star Trek Q? And they said no. And whenever I got into the powers that were, they're being taken out right now, they kept saying Q. And then all of a sudden I find out this QAnon group, which is the White Hats, are bringing there's a huge facet to this that's part of that group, and that group is tied into the higher dimensional beings and the benevolent ETs and the gold and everything else. There's many dimensions to this. But I didn't understand what they were saying, and now I fully understand it. And what I'm seeing now is that the only way that these technologies can come out and that we can get things back on track and end the disease and the war and disease profiteers and all that stuff, those guys have to go. And because none of this can get out as long as they're in charge. And so what I've seen over and over again, and people get really upset with me, and I tell them, they go, well, they're going to release trains of dollars, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that, and it's definitely going to go because Hillary's invested big in this, And I go, that's part of the reason why it's not going to go, because they're not going to allow trains of dollars to get in the hands of the very same people that have created this mess in the first place, So it's and everything is reversed right now. In my time, the left was, the people trying to fix things to take care of the planet and everything. Now it's the opposite. The right are the ones that are trying to restore, the Constitution, universal law, restore the republic and create a fair economic system and one where everybody prospers. And so it's been totally reversed from my time to now. And people need to get behind that because, and I don't want to go political on this, but what you really want to do is look at who's telling the truth out there, who has a track record of lying, and are you going to continue to believe them, and who has their priorities in order? Are they focusing on bringing heaven to earth? Are they operating from universal law? I mean, none of them are perfect, but overall, are they really trying to help humanity? Are they in service, or are they self-serving, and are they connected to a darker force, and everybody's going to have to wake up and look at this with brutal honesty, the forces you may have been backing may be the very forces that have been subduing people for eons.
That's very true, and I'm so glad that you said that so that people can wake up to really start identifying who is involved with the dark forces and separate it out from politics and just look at the individuals who are involved. And I think that's the best way to give you a clear answer as to what you're doing. It looks like we have a caller on the line who may have a question. Let me just check in here and bring them live on the air. Hi, you're on the air. Do you have a question for James? Hello? Hi, do you have a question for James? Yes, you're live on the air. Do you have a question?
Yeah, he's kind of new to me, so I'm just tuning in now. I was looking at the ranch thing on YouTube, and I was wondering what kind of conferences do you have?
Yeah, we have a lot of different ones. We've got remote viewing conferences. We have Divine Feminine conferences. We have, like I said, Science, Spirit, and World Transformation Conference coming up. It's really big. There's so many different conferences, and we just sponsor a lot of people that are on the right side of the fence, you might say, that are heart-centered, that are here to help humanity and the earth, and those are the type of people that we invite here and work with. So there, if you go to ECETIevents.com, all the information is there, and you can see the conferences, and we do a lot of counseling work and teach ambassador training, self-mastery training, and things of that nature.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your call.
All right, thanks for calling.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity, James, that you're offering to people. How much do you charge for this if people want to come to your ranch? Can you give us a ballpark?
You know what? I don't even involve myself at that end of it, so I have no idea. I should get up to it. But it's basically the counseling. If it's one-on-one, it's really inexpensive if you want to just come and hang out and do a sky watch and see the ships and everything. The camping, I think, is either $25 or $30 for people that want to come. There's beautiful showers here and bathrooms, and so it's not so much camping. You're basically just sleeping, in your tent, and that's the best way to do it. Actually, is come and camp, because then you're on the ground and you just open your tent door and look out, and you're in this beautiful natural surrounding with all kinds of things happening, but there's, if you want rooms,
right.
Everything is being redone on the website, so I'm not sure what the numbers are, but it's actually very inexpensive.
What about Bigfoot? Now, a lot of people have tethered Bigfoot to UFOs. Have you had experiences with Bigfoot on the ranch?
Yeah, we have a resident one that comes around. He's like a juvenile named Delaki, and a lot of people go, okay, he's lost it now, but there's major witnesses to this. Clyde Lewis, that has Ground Zero radio, he came walking out of the guest house, and Delaki ran right up to him, skidded, stopped, smiled at him, took off, and ran back the other way. And there was 5 witnesses to it. I saw it running away and turned him upside down. He didn't want to talk about it. And then I showed him the evidence. I went and took photographs of the footprints and everything else in the mud. And so and I gave them to him. So he went forward with it, and started talking about it. But there's a whole family that comes through here occasionally, and they ask, you're in meditation. They'll come and they'll kind of get your attention, and then they'll ask, telepathically if they could have some apples or whatever. And I always say, yeah, help yourself, because we have some pretty big orchards here with, pears and apples and Asian pears and cherries and everything else. So I figured they were here first, so I just tell them to help yourself. But, there's a lot of Lorcan O'Toole, Peter O'Toole's son, was just here last summer, and he saw one, up close and personal with 2 other people. It's pretty common. It's, and it really depends on your consciousness. If you're filled with a lot of fear or anger or skepticism, they're not going to show themselves to you. You'll probably never see them. But if you set your intention to have that experience and focus love and joy and bliss out there, you'll create that reality. It's the same with the UFOs. If you set your intention on having an experience and you make sure it's the benevolent ones and you send them love and joy and bliss, the mind in which you seek is the mind in which you're going to connect. So you're going to connect to those beings, and the best way to make sure you don't have problems with the negative beings is to align yourself with the positive one.
Now, why is this happening on your ranch? Is it a special portal that you have there?
It is. It's a Stargate, and it was here before I got here, and there's been UFO activity here hundreds of years documented. The Native Americans know all about it. Kenneth Arnold, who coined the word flying saucers, lost sight of the ships when they descended on the western slopes of Mount Adams, and that's our front yard, basically. So there's just a long, long history of activity here.
Do you think if you were somewhere else, they would follow you? Because it sounds like you were chosen. Would they follow you to another area?
Yeah, they do. They do. I went to Contact in the Desert, which is actually coming up. So. Yeah, and I do the kind of the invocation to bring the ships in and connect with the ships there, and I do lectures there and things like that. And every time I've gone there, there's been just multiple ships. Last year there was 85 ships counted by MUFON during the meditation and inviting them to come. So we had 85 ships over our presentation, and there's some other people that did the same thing. Unfortunately, they didn't get any ships. So
oh dear.
Well, they have the wrong intent. It's like there's not mention names, but there's people out there that say open to anything, just let anything in, and stop being spiritual snobs, and there are no negative ETs and things like that. And because of that, they've actually aligned themselves with the negative ETs, and they don't. Some know it, and some don't know it. And so, what we did is we cleared them out and brought in the benevolent ones, so their guys couldn't come. They couldn't. They couldn't come in.
So you warded the area. So now, do you have a special prayer that you say, or an invocation that you repeat to get them to come?
Well, with me, it's automatic. I'm just always connected. But what I do is I usually begin with a small talk about who they are and why they're here, and then I do a clearing prayer where I clear the energy, and it's a very old technique, and it works. It's always worked, but you can align with any master teacher that you feel comfortable with. Just make sure they're fifth dimensional on up, and you invoke their presence. You bring them in, surround yourself with light, and then there's a little prayer where you welcome any entities that need help or need healing, and you have them filled and surrounded with the Christ light or the Buddha light, whatever name you want to give it, the Mary light or Kuan Yin light, and that love as well, and have the other beings take them off to their perfect place. And so we always clear before we do anything here. We clear the energy. Even before we do anything on the land, we get clear with the nature spirits and make sure, we're not trespassing on anything. And they have their places here on the ranch too that we leave alone. We don't go in there other than to photograph them, take the orb pictures and the other crazy pictures. But
I have another question for you, James.
Sure.
We know what we need from them. I mean, they have technology that would help us with free energy. They have technology that would help us with healing. What do they need from us?
Basically the benevolent ones are in service to the Creator in all creation. And so that's their program. They're here to serve, and they're here to help those less fortunate or more primitive races to evolve and continue, on the path to ascension, you might say, or to make their own personal connection with Creator. There are some others that are here for other nefarious reasons, and they're here, and a lot of them are here because we have the DNA of the gods. Actually, we have the ancient gods, the DNA of the ancient Anunnaki, and so they're trying to create hybrids and use that DNA and mix it with their DNA. There's a lot of different reasons that, as I said before, that they're here, but the benevolent ones are in service. They're in pure service mode, and a lot of us are them. We incarnated from those realms, and we're part of the ground crew, or part of the awakening healing process, and we incarnated to help the earth and humanity kind of learn to behave themselves, you might say.
We do need to learn how to behave, that's for sure. Well, I was just wondering if they needed something else from us, because some of them seem very emotionless, but yet they're interested in our emotional body.
Mm-hmm.
So, wondering about...
Like a lot of, that is true. There are those that are hybrids and things like that, and they're trying to breed emotions back into their race because they found out that during this shift or during this ascension, they're stuck because without emotions, you can't make it into the fifth dimension. And on up, you're stuck, on the wheel. And that's a serious problem for them. And they bred emotions out of their race, and now they realize they screwed up. And so they're trying because love is the life force. It's the cosmic glue that holds everything together, and it's the power behind creation. If you have no love or no access to love, you're screwed. You can go as far as your mind will take you, and that you're stuck in the intellect, and that's as far as you can go.
Well, this has been so fascinating, James. Thank you. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're going to have you back so we can continue this conversation. It's been so enlightening. And thank you so much for all the good work that you're doing in the world today. You're one brave guy.
Thank you. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do, basically. I think that's what's important. We have to find our own unique soul purpose, and we all have it, and get on with it, and drop the programming.
No, that's the best goal that we could have, and really to enact that. But again, James, thank you so much. Everybody, make sure you go to the website, which is ECETI. Is it Events ECETI or ECETIEvents.com? Is that it?
ECETIEvents.com.
Okay, everybody. That's
good information, everyone. And thank you so much for this evening.
Thank you again. Next week, we are talking with someone who created a portal and brought it through. So be sure to join us next week, everybody. Until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural Girls.
Hey, PK, that was one great show.
Yes, it was very, very interesting. Good information.
Yeah, and I think we did better tonight. So
yeah, well, we were both
paying
attention to it. Yeah. Question for you: do you want me to let you know when we have our 30-minute time frame so you can break? I didn't know whether you had advertisement or not. I started to let you know at 5:30 our time, and then I thought, well, maybe you'll stop in a few minutes. Well, then it got a little bit later, and I thought, well, I'll just let it go. But I was going to ask you if you wanted me to pay attention.
Yeah, that helps. But we in such a deep discussion with him, I thought I'll just let it go. Yeah,
well, but I didn't. Like I said, I didn't want to interfere because that's something I can just do on the cell phone and just say time. That's all you need.
Yeah, you can just text me. That would help. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, good. Well, you have a good rest of your evening.
Well, I'm going to give it a shot, and you do likewise, young lady.
Thanks. Make sure you watch the skies. You might see a UFO tonight.
Well, very true. At least now I'm not afraid to look up, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, you enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, honey. Have a good night. Bye.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.